Gift giving can be so effing hard for guys to figure out. So I want to give our audience a one-up to give gifts where it counts.
I personally love giving gift cards.
Oh my God, please tell me you are not serious.
They're so easy.
Okay. Today we're talking about how to give gifts that count so you don't end up on the naughty list. So, gift cards. Chap says he loves giving gift cards. When do gift cards actually work? Because it's few and far between.
Yeah.
Okay, I think gift cards can actually work when you have sussed out where she actually loves shopping. She's said maybe that she wants to go to some specific store and buy a specific, purse that you don't know what it is, or it has to be a color that she chooses or something like that, where you go get the card specifically so you can then take her to the store or something like this.
Well, that's important too, the taking her to the store part, because if you just give a blanket card, like, okay, there are definitely times where, I'm joking aside, where gift cards are appropriate, and it's usually if you have you work at an office, you have a bunch of friends, a bunch of employees, something, and you're going to give out, as part of their something, you're going to give them a couple $100, some generic, whatever card. But I think with what you're talking about, if you have the female in your life and you want to give her something, but you have, like you said, have no idea what to give her, you go out and you buy a gift card to X clothing store brand, but you tell her, I want to go with you.
Right.
I want to be part of the process.
But I'm not going to condone giving gift cards in any other circumstance.
I was trying to defend myself.
I know, but because it's a loss. But what I do want to focus on with this chat and this episode is understanding what her language is, understanding what our partner's language is when it comes to receiving love. And so there's a really famous book called The 5 Love Languages, which, spells this out nicely if anyone wants to check that out. But the idea is that we all come from different backgrounds, different domestications, and so we have different ways of receiving love, where one person might love getting gifts, right? And that really, to them, just like fills them up and they feel so acknowledged when that happens. Whereas someone else might get a gift and go, that doesn't mean that much. Like, it's cool, it's good, it does feel like something, but maybe it even, for them, it might be like connected to some trauma or emotional wound from the past, and then it's actually doing yourself a disservice in some ways. And I know that's been true for me. Like, I didn't like getting gifts for a long time, so that was, something I've worked through. That's a worthiness issue maybe, or a receiving problem, or wanting to be in control, or whatever it is. But I was wondering, Chap, if you, first of all, have an idea of your personal love language. Like, real quick, I'm just going to spell out the most famous languages of love would be quality time, acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation, gift giving. So any of those speak to you as like...
Yeah, all of them but one, and that is like the touch part. I'm not that good at that. But as far as, and the thing about gift giving, luckily for me, my wife, she's just whatever. She's like, if you want to give me something, fine, but I don't want anything, whatever. Because the way we've been in our relationship is throughout the years is I will give her something if I see something or run across something that I think she'll really like.
Yeah.
And I don't wait for a birthday or another holiday time, Valentine's Day or whatever. I think she'll like that. And it's more about the thought of knowing that she would like that. Right? She's a pilot. So certain kinds of aviation things, I'm like, I think she'll like that, or motorcycles or whatever she might like as far as that goes. But as far as the gift giving goes, the problem that I see with gift giving early on in a relationship is, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the gut feeling is you go back to how expensive it is or how luxurious it is, but that's really setting yourself up for problems, isn't it? I mean, I feel like a gut reaction to a guy is I'm setting the bar really high, and now I got to keep that bar set high.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the hard thing with gift giving, specifically as the love language, is you get sometimes that feeling of like you got to one up each other and this type of thing.
You gotta keep going.
Yeah, and you gotta kind of work through that if you're going to be a person who's giving gifts and good at it. Because I think being good at giving gifts isn't actually about giving the best, most ideal gift. It's about like letting go of the way it's going to be received and just giving it out of a fully selfish measure. Like, this feels good to give this, and that's where it ends.
And that's my scenario, because I'll be somewhere and I'll see something and I'll say, I know she'll love that. And it could be $20, it could be whatever, it doesn't matter. And I'll get it, and then I'll get home and I'll be like, I have,
Yeah, and it can be flowers. Like, I mean, like, there's very simple ways to do this, right?
Yeah, and you have to know your woman. And I think that's kind of the thing, is this gets back to, you really got to listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
And be receptive to, not hints, but to know them really well.
Well, and you can ask too, like, what moves you most when I do, when I spend quality time with you, where my presence is my present and I'm really showing up in that way. Does that, make you feel more loved than when I do this and that? And it's not that you're never going to give gifts if she's a quality time person and that's how she receives love best. It's just that you'll know to focus on quality time. Okay, like setting those, date nights. Maybe it's a intimate date night and you give her the invitation at the holiday gift giving ceremony or whatever, where you would normally, and you say, we're going to go out on this date and it's going to be special, and I set it aside and I put the energy and effort towards doing that. That's like a beautiful gift. And it's not like she's opening something that's a Louis Vuitton bag or something like that, right? Or buying a trip for the two of you, which doesn't have to be like extravagant. It can literally be to a hotel down the street, for a night where you guys are going to like take a bath together and chill out. But it's that like quality time, just as a for instance.
Well, what you're saying though is the interesting thing is you have to be aware of their not wanting to do it, not out of them not wanting to do it, but them not wanting to do it because they care about the financial things. So you can't say, okay, we're going to go stay, your hotel example, we're going to go stay at a really nice hotel. If you say this to her, say, hey, we're going to go stay at a really nice hotel here in the city. We're going to eat at a really nice place and dinner, and we're going to go to this nice spa or whatever together. The problem is, if y'all been in a relationship too long, she's going to say, well, that's too expensive, and we got stuff we have to do Thursday night. So what you have to do is you have to book it. You got to go set it up.
Well, all that energy that you're putting in is super, you've shown up in a really strong way for that, which is an act of service, actually. So that's more her love language in that situation, where you're going out of your way to do all the things.
You have to take the steps.
Yeah, you're taking those responsibilities essentially off her plate, or you're creating something that she didn't have to go all through the work that she normally would to do if she's like a type A personality.
Like basically be ready at 6 p.m., have a backpack.
Yeah, but I would say it's a good point that you make about like being worried about money or something like that, and being able to give a gift like that, even if it's for quality time. So for instance, again, on the quality time one, just because we're harping on this, but if you don't have a bunch of money in your pocket, or even if you do and you feel like it would be more meaningful to her, you could offer going on a walk 3 nights a week for 30 minutes, and that might make her heart sing, because she's like, yeah, this is exactly, I want that time where we have intimate conversation and connection and we can slow down together. And I know he's going to show up on a regular basis. That's a gift that you give to your partner. So there's all kinds of ways, creative ways to figure out what your partner would resonate best with your partner.
Well, and your partner's going to like something. They're going to have some interest, be it a hobby or be it whatever. They're going to like something. And, mine happened to be when I wasn't making any money and I had, minimum wage job, she loved orchids. So she still does, but she liked orchids a lot. And so there was this, I would go and pick out an orchid, and it'd be, I don't know, $12 or whatever. So I'd go pick it out. I knew she didn't have that color. I would see she didn't have that color, and I would pick it out. And she's like, oh, I didn't have that color. Or that's a something, something, something dendron, whatever it is. And it's, oh, I didn't have that color. That's really cool. Or I had one like that and it died years ago. So it's like, as long as you got to just care. And as long as you care,
and it's thoughtful.
You're going to be, as long as you thought, as long as you don't care about the personal result as it applies to you, like you're not looking for some hero pat on the back.
Well, that's actually something I wanted to talk about, because I know as we started this conversation, we said you kind of need to be able to give it and let go of how it's received when you give gifts to a degree, right? But we also, it's just natural to want some credit for
of course,
what we do in the world. So it's not shameful to want credit, but I think it's important to investigate if you really feel like you need credit from somebody, when you're trying to give a gift or be kind in some way. And it's not about, I think we try to focus on, oh no, I just want to give unconditionally. And it's not about that. Like, if I could get anything through to anyone watching, listening to this, it's not in relationship and in gift giving and in speaking someone's love language, it's not about giving unconditionally, because that's not really where we spend our reality as humans, interconnected humans. It's about focusing on mutually invested relationships. So if you giving your time, like quality time, or you constantly, not constantly, that sounds unreasonable, but regularly giving words of affirmation, loving affirmations and saying kind things to your partner, if that is you investing and you're making that conscious investment, then that is a gift. Like that is something to look. You don't have to get the exact same thing back from them. If you want the exact same thing back from them, then you need to communicate that and see if they're willing to show up for that. But it's about figuring out what they receive best and then investing your energy in honing the way you speak to them, or the act you do or the thing you do in order to have them feel the love, so that you will get credit for it in one way or another.
Yeah, and you might not get credit that moment or the next week, but it could be one of those things where over time they're like, boy, they might think about it later. Because when you give somebody something, especially if they're not expecting it or if they have nothing for you or whatever, they might be shocked. They may be like, oh my God, why did they just do that? And then like, a couple weeks later, they might be like, oh, I really, like the whatever it is. And they're like, oh, it was really nice of him. And so it's like, you don't really have to worry too much about the instant, am I going to get this big smile on her face? Is she going to be super elated? I mean, that'd be wonderful if that's what happens. And it does happen, obviously. Mostly. But there's going to be the female that is like, oh, okay, great. And you're like, oh, it didn't go over well.
Yeah, exactly what you're saying.
She's kind of put on the spot.
She's afraid that she didn't. It's, again, like we talk a lot about on this show, it's this like worthiness thing. It's like when someone gives you a gift, some tribes, actually, the word for gift in the tribal language is also the word for burden. Because when someone gives you something, it can create a response. It feels like you have to give something back now. Yeah. And it's like a tit for tat thing, which doesn't feel loving at all, right?
Well, it's a similar scenario to when you go to lunch with a friend. Like, he'll get it this time, you'll get it next time, he'll get it next time. And that's fine. But then at one point, you're like, can we just split the check?
Yeah.
Because then it's like, okay, you got it last time. It's just like, let's just split the check. So it's like, and you notice that because you go to dinner. I was with a couple the other night, and I'm always first to say this because I don't care. But with a couple the other night, and it was four of us total, and the bill comes, right? And it's sitting there, and you can see, he's like, what, like, he's this awesome. I mean, that's a bad example, but somebody might be sitting there and being like, well, how do I, because I've been in logo, well, who's going to pick this up? Is this work? And I'm like, why don't you split it? Oh, yeah. It's like, who cares? You know what I mean? It's like, whatever. And so that's what I end up doing, and it always works every time. So, but with regard to the couple things.
Pressure.
Yeah, let go of that.
Yeah.
Like let go of, if you're doing it out of the genuineness of your heart, and you genuinely care about, what we have a dog in the room, just so you know. Very naughty creature.
Very naughty.
But anyway,
on the naughty list,
he's very cute. Yeah, actually, you've seen him in another episode, and I'll let you guys guess who that is. But anyway, I think that it doesn't matter how much it is, assuming we don't have a cultural thing that there's some minimal, assuming that's not the case. But there's a movie, and every time I think of this, there's a movie, and I'm not going to name it, but there's a movie where there's two competing people that are competing for this female's love, or not really love, but it's because it's a comedy. But one brings a bouquet of these beautiful flowers, and she's like, whatever. And then the other guy brings a single red rose, and she's like, oh, and it's just like, yeah, because it doesn't really matter the volume or what it is. It's who's giving it to you, how they're giving it to you, the relationship. And that's really what matters, because I can give my wife really anything, as long as it's thoughtful, she's going to like it, and I'm going to see it, in a little space on her little desk or something, like, okay, that's,
It's about the investment that the person is making in the relationship with you.
Right.
And I think it's important in this mode that we're in this discussion to think of the relationship as a third party that you're both investing into. So
Good point. See, I didn't even think about that. That's brilliant in and of itself. Is the relationship is like, I think of it in terms of corporate America is like you've created an LLC or a sub S, or you've created something, and everybody has a duty to treat that kind of like a film. Everybody has a duty to treat the project with the highest priority. So your relationship, like you said, I didn't even think about it that way, but your relationship is that being that you need, or that the company or whatever it is that you need to invest your time and effort into.
Yeah, there's something called the Gottman method. I think it's John Gottman who, I think I'm getting the first name right, but anyway, he's written a zillion books on the psychology of relationships, and he talks about bidding in your relationship. So you're basically investing every time you make a bid, and you make bids for positivity, or sometimes you make bids that are essentially like, they can have a negative context, but you have to have the positive bids. So like the loving ways that you interact, the language of love that you give, whether it's, saying a positive thing or doing a positive act, like doing the dishes or saying how beautiful you are today, honey, or, let's spend the evening watching a movie together or whatever, quality time, right? And putting all those things into the piggy bank, the relationship piggy bank, investing, because when you take a deficit, when you make a deficit because you have to be critical for something, like, some conflictual thing comes up where you need to be heard, like, hey, I don't like the way that you do this thing. You have to invest it, I think he says, like 5 times more than you
return than you take out of the
right.
And that's very similar to real investing. Is you got to get in that habit of just keep throwing that in there, invest, because every once in a while you'll need a withdrawal.
Yeah.
And when you do the withdrawal, you want to make sure that, like you said, you have enough, vested, money or whatever, it shits in the bank or whatever it might be. So question, when we're talking about gift giving, I feel like we've done a little bit of a switcheroo, which we normally do, where we're like, gift giving, oh my God, let's roll. And we go down this path, which is very deep and a little more enlightening. Question for you though, if I'm in an early relationship with somebody, okay, and I'm a guy and is a female, and I don't know what to give her, right? And it maybe just so happens we started dating, and like 2 months later it's her birthday. What do I, like, what's the situation? I mean, your subject, you want to know her and know maybe what she likes and what, but if you're not really paying attention, you're like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? I'm kind of putting on the spot here, but what do I do?
I think,
because you want to give her something.
Yeah, if it's very new, then I think it's always good to go somewhere together. It's not a thing to give.
Like what would be not going to dinner again, because you're going to do that anyway.
Could be go to, I don't know, I live in California, so there's an island called Catalina nearby. Like, it's like a day trip thing to do, or go to a park. Yeah, you don't even have to have a lot of money for this. It could be literally like, hey, I wanted to go hike in this trail, whatever it is, or go to the ocean together. I mean, it can be whatever you got going around, wherever you're at in the world. It can be something where, and this is a quality time thing, right? And when you're new in a relationship, I think quality time is the most critical thing for learning if you want to be with this person or not. So before you have enough information to know like a thing to buy her or, for a literal gift, I think you got to figure out who she is, right?
So and that's the thing is like I went back to, let me just use me as an example, and I think it was pretty good. I would wake up early on a Saturday morning, and I would take her car, and I would get myself. I wouldn't go pay somebody. I would do this myself. I would detail her car.
Yeah, beautiful. It acts
like an hour and a half. Yeah, and she's like, "Wow, look how good that looks!" And oh my God, you clean it. Oh my God, you even clean it, under the whatever. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I had the time. I woke up and I did it.
Yeah, and it was so fulfilling
things like
for
that.
you too.
Or like you vacuum the floor.
And I think it's a good point to bring back this idea of investing with our gifts, like making that, but without being so like cold or crass about it, because I think what people sometimes see that as is manipulation. Like, well, I'm going to invest so that when I take away, I'm going to give all these gifts so that I can go do something shitty and she's going to be okay.
That's not what we're talking about. That's manipulation. Yeah, that's manipulation.
But so to your point, I would say regarding just if you're in a new relationship or a relationship where you just don't know that person deep enough for whatever your reasons are, because sometimes you're in a relationship a long time and you don't know someone that well yet.
Well, and it can be fun too.
Yeah, you can find something to do or do for them that you can go off, first of all, if you would feel loved by them doing that for you. Now, again, your love language might be different. So when someone gives you the car wash situation like you described, Chap, it might feel amazing because that for you was like a real effort. And you're like, I get what that investment takes because you've done it before. But for someone who receives that, they might go like, yeah, my dad used to do that every single weekend. Like I take it for granted.
Yeah,
you know
you got to know your subject.
Yeah.
You got to get back to knowing your subject.
It's hard to know. If you're new, you're still learning all that.
You are, and that's fine.
As
long as you just try. And I have a friend of mine there's no relationship. It's just a friend of mine. And she mentioned once or twice, she's like, yeah, I sit here and keep a stash of like chocolate in my drawer at work. And she goes, and I love chocolate. I was like, what kind of chocolate? And it's so simple. What kind of chocolate you like? Oh, I like whatever they are. Hershey's. I'm just making this up. Okay. And so I remember it was her birthday. So what I did is I go to a convenience store and I bought like all of these just chocolate bars of whatever it was, like almost a jokingly high amount of them, to where like, here you go. And it was in a box that it was a box that somebody delivered something. And I just threw them all in there. And I'm like, yeah, that should go in there. And then that should go in there. And I'm like, I got your present. And it's this cardboard box. It's like, yeah, that has your shipping label on it. Says, yeah, whatever. And so I hand it to her and she's like, and it's not romantic, but it's funny. And the point is it's funny. I hand it to her and she's like, wow. Like, and she starts laughing and she's like, yeah, so I just gained 10 pounds. And I'm like, well, have fun with that. As every time you eat chocolate, you can think of, my cardboard box. And it's funny because it's you don't have to be necessarily serious about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can just
especially
do something goofy.
if you're new too, it's always fun to do something ridiculous.
Just goofy. Yeah, it's just goofy. But I do like the early on in a relationship. And you don't, and oh my God, damn it, her birthday's coming up, and all your buddies like, what are you getting for her birthday? And in my case, it would be my mom's like, what did you buy whoever for her birthday? It's like, what? Yeah, it's her birthday. I was like, oh, Mom, okay. And you'd be somewhere, you'd be on a trip, and my mom's like, do you think she'd like this? I said, God, yeah, Mama, stop doing that to me. And then I'm like, I need to get her something because Mom was right. Right? Mama was right. And we do that. We do that to our kid as well. I'm like,
that's a good question. Why do you think that, and I'm going to stereotype it a little bit. Why do you think that men more often than women, I feel like women are very adamant about knowing birthdays and giving gifts, especially for like family members or mothers-in-laws and this.
That's a really good question. Like,
why do men kind of avoid it, or do they expect that women are going to do it for them?
I don't know if I avoid. Well, okay, that's funny because when I was younger, I didn't avoid. Because I'm talking when I was younger, and a lot of guys, here might be younger watching this, but when I was younger, I just was oblivious. I didn't know. I was just like, dude, it's Valentine's Day. I don't know. I get her box of chocolates. Like, but I didn't know. I didn't know enough.
It's just like too overwhelming.
Well, I didn't even think about it. No, I wasn't even like, maybe I'm so dumb that I just didn't even think like, oh yeah, it's her birthday. Maybe she can drop me like 3 hints. I'm not exactly early on in life, and even today to some degree, I'm not exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer, but my mom will, moms would always know. And my wife is the same way. She's like, hey, it's kid,
so-and-so's birthday.
Hey kid, it's her birthday. And they're not in a relationship. She's like, it's your friend so-and-so's birthday. Were you going to get her something? Oh, and it's the same thing. He's like, wait, oh man, what? Oh, geez. And he's like, damn, I forgot. Oh, I don't know. And then it's like, then he stresses out. And it's like, don't worry, Ian, don't worry about it.
And I think in a situation like that, like where you don't know how to approach giving a gift, or if it's going to come off weird, or it's going to be too romantic looking and you don't want it to be, or whatever. You have some obstacles there. Just saying, if it's a happy birthday or if it's a Merry Christmas or whatever, just taking the time to address something about them is so much enough of a gift. Like that's for me, my love language, or my top love language, is words of affirmation. So receiving a letter or a note or text even, or whatever it is, something from someone who is showing their investment in me that says, I see these maybe positive traits in you, and I appreciate your friendship for these reasons, and something that's kind and
or writing a card, greeting card, birthday. Let's say a birthday card, for example, or it's Valentine's Day card. You're going through and this is kind of interesting, but you're going through the cards, and you're like, oh, this one's kind of cute. This one kind of says what I want. Here, to Mary, here you go. Mm-hmm. Don't do that. What you do is you get a blank one.
Right.
Okay. And because let me ask you.
This is so intimidating for most men.
Yeah, but right.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Do moms, because you're not a mom, but do moms, because we all have moms, by the way. Did you ever seen maybe your mom has like little things she's held on throughout her life? And one of those things she tends to hold on to are maybe some early cards you might have written her. Right. And it's in horrible handwriting. And it's like, dear ma'am, I really love you. And and it's like your horrible handwriting, whatever. And your mom kept it because it was really sweet. And it was from the heart. And so if I get a blank card out, right, and I'm a writer or not a writer, and just write something sweet that you think sweet on the top of your head, like, hey, I really like, and even if it's kind of like dumb, like, not like I like your boobs or anything like that, but if it's something like, hey, I really like your smile, I like being around you, and I'm sorry I didn't know what to get you for your birthday, but something, and you write something, it's going to be sweet. And the other thing too is as when you give a gift to somebody, especially early on in a relationship, and you're the guy giving the gift to the girl.
Yeah.
Watch her. You can learn a lot about her. Not a lot, but you can learn something about her, I should say, when you give her that gift. And watch her face. Because if she's open, she's like, what? Is it an act? Or she's like, I don't understand. But if you can see, if you're tuned into her, you can see if it went over pretty well. And you'll be able to tell. And if it, like I said, if it doesn't go over real well that moment, you'll see down the road. It will have legs. And now
that you have this idea of how to discern where she gets the most love, from which route, then you can kind of start noticing which languages she speak best,
Well, and it's
usually, by the way, the language that they show you. So like we always show people love through the way that we think is most loving because we want to get credit for it.
Right.
And so you can notice if she's always saying nice things or pointing out things about you, then she's probably words of affirmation. Or if she's always going out of her way to do certain things for you, then this is something. Or if she's acts of service. If she's perhaps, really keen on physical touch and she's always like stroking, your arm, or, you can tell that that's a way that she loves it. She like gives really good hugs, for instance. We know someone who gives really good hugs.
We do.
But this is ways you can know that this is a way that person's going to receive also. It's not just the way that they're giving, but they'll likely also receive love through that route. I want to go through, as a way to kind of bring this all the way full circle, just maybe a few ideas that you and I can brainstorm right now for people listening that are new to this information, maybe about love language and how to use that for gift giving. Maybe let's brainstorm.
Yeah.
What, for physical touch, for instance, everybody goes straight to the sexual with that word, but it's not necessarily just sexual. That is a part of it, but
because that's kind of funny. I'm giving you a gift. I'm gonna have sex with you. Wow. Thanks, dude.
Usually if women give that gift, it's actually welcomed, or
well,
other sexual acts. Yeah.
Yeah.
But probably not going to be as well received all the time.
The other way around.
But like if I got something that said, I'm going to give you a massage for an hour and a half and I'm going to be really committed to it or something like that.
But with that's a really good one, right? Because I remember back in the day, you'd get these like gift coupons and it would be like dinner, like movies.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to redeem that. The problem is you never really redeem them because you feel like, ooh, I'm not going to redeem them.
Sometimes we're bruised from that.
So what you have to do, if you're going to do, let's say the massage thing, let's say she loves massage, whatever. Go and actually say, tonight you're getting a massage and it's going to be at 8:00.
Yeah.
And it's happening. So go take whatever you have to do to be ready for it. It's happening. And that's all it is. It's above the waist, whatever. It's a massage. Right. That's it. And
you're right. It has to be already a set on the calendar date that you have to show up for. Otherwise you're actually deteriorating trust rather than building.
And she'll be like, yeah, that was a lame gift. It's like, Mom, I'm going to, make you breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, why don't you make money? Because I know somebody that does that. It's like, I'm going to make you breakfast on Thursday the 18th. It's like, why don't you do it this morning? Oh, well, because I don't have the time. It's like, okay.
And then Thursday the 18th rolls around and no one's there to be found.
Well, yeah, and the thing is like what's interesting about what you just said is it's genius when you really break it down, and that is those things, how people show love. And if somebody really likes to give hugs or somebody likes the touching, and they really like the other because they give that, so maybe they like receiving it. There's a thing in like spycraft or whatever where you can learn, I forgot where I heard this, but you can learn a lot about an adversary based on the questions they ask you. So like if you're in a I don't know, a deposition or if you're in an interrogation or something and people are asking you questions, think really hard because they're asking you questions because they want to know something. And they want to know something because they're interested in that something. So like you're asking where are your submarines located? And it's like, he clearly is worried about my submarines. So that means he doesn't have good submarines or doesn't have a good submarine force to combat the submarines. It's like, how about that? I don't know.
You're essentially you're wanting to find what they're interested in, right?
Right.
And you're
it's
doing
like that's
that,
it. It's reverse. It's kind of like it's almost like you're putting the bait out there in a way, but you're not.
Yeah.
You're seeing what kind of bait she wants or whoever.
No, definitely. And I don't know if it's all women, but I certainly do this. There's even like this passive thing that I do where I'll ask my partner, or I don't know if I do it with friends so much, but definitely partner, because, we spend a lot of time with our romantic partners, where I ask like kind of passive questions or like favorite questions. And it's not even I want to know the answer. That's why I'm asking the question, because I'm interested. But I'm also interested in just connecting. So there's like little hidden things to watch for too. So even if she's asking a question about what's, your top 3 movies or something like that.
Yeah, maybe she likes movies.
Or maybe what that's actually showing you, if she's doing things like that pretty often, where she's really showing interest in investment, is that she's showing how she likes to be invested in, which is to be interrogated to some degree, but not interrogated, but to be questioned and to be shown through vocally saying, hey, what do you like? What do you like? I mean, if she's saying to you all the time, what do you like? What's your favorite thing? Then she really wants you to also know what her favorite things are.
All right.
She
Maybe
wants
you
to
should
be
turn
seen.
around and ask her, because we're on a date and I say, and you ask me, what are your 3 favorite movies? And I'm like, whatever, the 3. And then I'm like, what other questions do you have?
Yeah.
What are your 3
you need to
favorite
say, what are your 3
what are your 3 favorite? Duh. And so like I would have done that next week. Do you got any more questions for me? Back in the day. Now let me ask you this. I have a question for you.
I just want to say also, my partner, whenever I ask a favorite question like that, he almost always immediately says, I don't know, let me think about it. What are yours? And he always turns it around right off the top. So then we're starting to brainstorm something. And now we're not just having a favorites conversation, which seems so lame off the top. But this is, in intimate relationships, you get really drilled down into those things because they take you somewhere deeper. And it's an entry point. And so whenever that conversation starts happening where now I don't even know the answer to it yet. I didn't ask it because I wanted to be asked it on surface. Like I didn't know an answer to it yet. Now I got to think, and now he's like, well, you do a little bit of work. You're asking me to figure out figuring out a favorite thing's a little bit of work sometimes.
Well, but it gets the conversation going.
Yeah.
Why do you like that? Oh, I like it because this director's great or whatever. I like it.
Well, you just get to know something about each other, and it usually takes you somewhere more intimate, somewhere deeper, that you've learned a new thing about your partner, and that's you've allowed them to be seen. Like as simple as that is, when you ask someone their favorite stuff, they're telling you their favorite stuff with this background, this foundation underneath that. It says something about their personality. When you tell me your favorite movies, I'm judging you for what.
So if you ask me my favorite movies and I say porn in Hawaii, porn in Dallas, and porn in Alaska, then
I know quite a lot about you, though.
So, okay, so more serious. Liv, if I asked you, I was going to say,
think about how much now I know about you.
Because it is, because if I say something like, I like, this sci-fi movie and that sci-fi movie and that sci-fi movie, maybe you like sci-fi.
Yeah.
How about that? Have you seen this sci-fi movie? Yes, I have seen that. So here's what you shouldn't do, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you do this. Okay, significant person I really like in my life, write a list to Santa and write all the things you would like, and then I'll steal the list, and then I'll go.
I can't do that.
It's kind of, that's almost like the coupon.
It's so aggravating to me. I have this kind of, that every, holiday season, this comes back around because like I told you in the beginning of this convo, I've had a long journey of the gift receiving ability and honing that in myself and all that. Writing down what you want and then handing it to someone, and then they handing you a list and you just buying the stuff on the list.
Why don't you just buy it?
What is the investment there? I don't understand that at all. I would rather say, let's go spend time, put it on the calendar for the same holiday day or whatever it is you want to, whatever time this is going to be for this gift exchange, and do something together that's going to create a memory. And I understand there is I will give a little bit to the factor of, let's say it's Christmas time, we're going to give gifts, and we've given each other a list of what we want, and we go and buy each other the full list of things. We show up, and then we watch each other unwrap the gifts. Well, in order to get us to both show up to the occasion, this happens with family members a lot because we sometimes don't show up very well for them. In order to get us to all sit in the same room and take the time to sit there for a couple hours, however long it takes to open these gifts. Let's just say Christmas, because it takes you go through doing stages of whatever Christmas looks like, dinner and whatnot. That might be the ritual that's required in order to get everyone to show up together.
Yeah, and that's a little more. There's a more grand scheme there at play. When the other thing you have to watch out for, I guess, as a guy, is if either in a usually in a newer relationship, this would be the case. But if we know the guy maybe isn't a billionaire, okay, and they're showing up like the first gift is some showered thing of wonder, and it kind of, if you're with a girl who's pretty intelligent and she knows what's going on, and you do that, she might look at you and be, he doesn't really have very wise financial sense.
And he's desperate.
Yeah, that could be bad.
That's maybe the worst part.
So I think this gets back to, and also you're setting the bar very high if you do have the wherewithal to do it. You maybe shouldn't. So it's like, a couple thoughtful things, little small ones, little thoughtful here and there, and you can build up. Mm-hmm. It's like if you're going to go on a date, if somebody described the perfect date, I would say flying in a private jet to like Cairo and looking out over the pyramids and okay, whatever. Even if you have the wherewithal to do that, you're never going to do that as a first date. So maybe what you should do is you go somewhere like middle of the road that you can get to know each other, that's quiet, that's not too romantic, and that's a little fun, and you do this. And we've talked about that in other episodes. But the thing is, it's kind of like gifts. Don't go in for broke.
Right. And I think we've gotten a little off topic too we were supposed to be giving examples. Yeah. We're supposed to be giving examples.
Sorry.
We derail ourselves all the time. So let's just keep going down that, just to round this out. So we have physical touch. An easy thing would be like massage for instance, for that, a foot rub.
I like the foot rub.
Yeah. Head rub, we call it Indian head massage. And then, of course, you can get into the more intimate things if you're talking about with a romantic partner, if that feels right. So acts of service was pretty obvious. Like you did a good one with the washing of the car or making breakfast or washing the dishes. It can be the simplest things to the grander things. Do you have any for words of affirmation?
I say stuff that's meaningful anyway. Like I try to say stuff that's meaningful. I try to think ahead. A lot of times I say stupid stuff, but I try to think ahead of something that's meaningful. But it's got to be something where they actually did something that to them would warrant an affirmative comment. Like if I said I really like your hips. Okay. But if I say something like, hey, that new, I don't know, whatever, that hair, that style that you were working on, because I know you're working on, because I'm Intel, and you're working on, it just looks right.
Yeah.
And that's very physical, but the same, or the better one is you worked really hard on a project.
Yes.
And it just turned out good. And I can say, not only do I say, oh, honey, you did a good job. I'm not saying honey, but you did a good job. I would say, I really liked that project. I liked how you dealt with the lighting. What did you like about it? And you have to be able to back it up and say, well, I really liked how it was warm and had a glow or whatever, whatever it is.
Yeah, it has to be genuine. Absolutely.
It has to be no matter what it is, it has to be genuine.
Yeah, and I think that's just getting in the practice, when we're talking about words of affirmation, just getting in the practice of finding ways to speak beauty into people and finding ways to affirm people is a practice that will benefit you in all aspects of your life.
For sure.
If you can look at somebody and know them for a very short amount of time even, or have known them for been a romantic partner or something with them for a zillion years, and still be able to grasp something in the moment that is really beautiful about them and then say that out loud to them, that is a skill that's like unmatched. I don't know a better skill to have. So start practicing now and giving your gift that way. That's a good practice just to have in your pocket. And then we spoke a lot about quality time already, in the beginning of the show, but even a 30-minute dedicated, committed, let's say walk, or, a walk's easy. Anybody can do that, going on a walk with somebody, even your parent, your partner, or whoever, and committing that time is a great way to do that.
And if you're early on, and it just came to me, if you're early on in a relationship, and let's say you're the guy, because I'm a guy, and you're on a business trip, okay, picking up the phone. And, text her, say, he got time to talk.
FaceTime.
And picking up the phone, you're in your hotel, room, you're winding down, and you take the time, spend 15, 20 minutes on the phone with her. How are you doing? What did you do today? Is your sister still bothering you? Whatever's going on. And then you care. You just gave a gift of caring. And it's free.
It's all about mutually invested relationships.
Right.
So I hope that's what's taken away from today's convo. I want to ask you guys to subscribe, comment, connect with us through the links below. We do this show every week, and I'm going to remind you, you already are.